Um, but I know some people do listen when they're not here. I don't know how many, but I know Tom tried to on Monday. Um, and then we had, like I said, the audio issues, which is why I was having to do the sound check. So um, yeah, and I know Tom can't do the meetings on the weekends, so he may catch this later. Um, so yeah, why don't you lay out the vision for what you know what you want to do, William, and we can just start from there.
Um, okay. So let's see here. The vision is to be able to say to CC Music artists, "Hey, we want to help you." Um, so the idea is that, I mean, where it comes from is that went to a show and I said, "What the hell? I want to tell you guys about this stuff, but I want to convince you and I want to give you something to do." And I felt like maybe there's some stuff we could do to do that. So we had been talking about getting a bandwagon up. Um, I would like to do that. I talked to, so it would be basically a bandwagon. So basically a replacement in my brain for Bandcamp, for basically provide a Bandcamp like experience, um, except it's decentralized. It's also got Fetty on it for CC Music artists. They already have Bandcamp, so anyway, there's something there. We all are concerned about where Bandcamp's going in the future, although they seem to maintain for some period of time. So give them that. That I would think maybe would live at this nice little new URL that I grabbed, ccmusic.club. But then also, and so in some sense, it is connecting independent creators, independent musicians at this point, but bigger picture than that, possibly. Independent musicians with the independent creative, the open source tools that are all starting to pop up and bring all these communities together. So, Bandwagon being kind of the version of Bandcamp that's out there, that would be cool. There is also a number of other tools that I know of existing and have kind of played around with. So you can do a radio station yourself. You can do a Zeracast. I had one of those up for a while. I don't have one up right now, but we could put that up. We could connect that to, I don't know, radio.ccmusic.club, something like that. There is Owncast, which I now actually have it running. It was super freaking easy to get up, but still got to play around with it. Owncast is basically streaming video, um, which is really, really cool. Again, all these tools without any corporate middleman involved in it. So, Owncast, you get a little server on something like DigitalOcean or something, run it for maybe $10 a month, and you have this opportunity for somebody to use OBS to live stream to that. My thought with that is artists, musicians could possibly connect to that when they do a show. The real idea behind that comes from what Rhino does. Rhino has a, I don't know how many people don't know Rhino, but anyway, let's go for that. He does a show, Rhino the Bearded, down in Jackson, Mississippi. He does a live stream. Um, Basically, it's a, well, it changes, but top 10 Creative Commons music of the week kind of show. It runs about an hour, starts at 6 p.m. Central on Friday nights, runs about an hour, can run longer, could start at any time. Um, so he does that. And with that, he's got basically, it's just audio. It's just an audio stream. So we would possibly be able to do that on a Zeracast. He could connect to that. That would be a big part of this. But the really nice thing about but he does his show. Not sure what tool he exactly uses. I think the I don't know, what do you call it? The protocol behind it is IceCast. AzuraCast supports that. Anyway, he also has a chat room. He has been using IRC to do that chat room for a very long time. He has trouble with that IRC. Other people have trouble dealing with IRC. Again, a lot of these things are like, can I get some of the people doing this stuff to do it a slightly different way, but possibly a more modern way, possibly a way that's open to more people and kind of normalize these better experiences. Anyway, Owncast. So we would combine Owncast with AzuraCast. The other thing that Ryan also does is he does his Friday night shows, but he will also have sometimes he'll have a musician come down and he'll have it right out of his house. He will have them basically broadcasting a live show, live concert with video from his house. He'll sometimes also maybe have a show at a local bar nearby, maybe on the Saturday afterwards or something like that. If you can get somebody down, and he does all this out of his own pocket, it's amazing. But anyway, to do the show that he would be doing, the show that he currently does for video, he uses Twitch. Again, Owncast is basically a decentralized, no middleman version of that. There is no Twitch in the middle of that. Um, Really cool thing. Well, so when I've tried to watch his stuff using Twitch, what's cool about Twitch is you can watch it on your Roku. You can watch it on your television. You can watch it via Twitch, except you can only watch it for a limited period of time unless you pay Twitch. That's really fucking dumb because Owncast there's a Roku app for Owncast. So again, we can kind of start to like all these pieces of the puzzle are starting to come together for us to really have an independent, decentralized technology to do a lot of the things that I would think independent artists would really want to do. They want to do this. I'm sure a lot of them, especially in the Fedi world, want to do it in an independent way. But if we can bring these two worlds together, we can, the artists have some fan base. They can bring attention to these technologies. We can grow the technologies. We can grow support for the technologies. Basically, both worlds can feed each other. That's kind of this big dream world of all of it. Anyway, specifically what Rhino does is so he has his audio stream. We can do that with AzuraCast. He has a chat room. Owncast has a chat room component next to the video that he does. So, and then Owncast also does the video. So he could do his whole thing for basically using OBS, AzuraCast, and Owncast. We can provide that kind of setup for basically anybody that wants to start doing these kinds of shows. Why do we want to do that? Well, because I think Rhino is awesome and we want to support that, but also because he's doing the support of these artists. All right. So we are supporting the artists by helping Rhino do that. And I would argue that what Rhino is doing, I would argue, by supporting what he does, is he is providing another piece of replacing the big corporate puzzle, which is the algorithm that stuff like Spotify does, right? So we've got people are wondering, well, how do I find these new artists? Well, a lot of kids these days, whatever, are using the Spotify algorithm to recommend their music. And a lot of people have fucking problems with Spotify for lots of different reasons. But also, what is Spotify recommending? Why are they choosing what they're recommending? They have artists that have left them because they are concerned about AI. They are concerned about what the company is running ads for ICE. They are running. They are what the owner of the company, or I don't know if he's CEO or he dropped out of that or whatever. What he's supporting with his money. King Gizzard. I'm trying to remember the name of that band exactly. King Lizard Gizzard. They just left Spotify, and they basically saw that Spotify was basically replacing them with AI versions of their music. So anyway, we've got a lot of different tools to kind of start to build a better system to replace what exists. So anyway, the independent music world, I would argue, does not have a good system for finding music because I think we are the key, specifically friends of CC Music, CC Music, and people like curators like what Rhino are doing is exactly that piece of that puzzle. We need people, we need DJs, essentially go back to the DJs who are going to find the music and are going to have play that music for people to recommend stuff out there. Obviously, we need lots of DJs because we want to have a varied perspective, different, recommendations, all that kind of stuff. So anyway, that's where I think we're really, really valuable is kind of helping artists do that, but specifically helping to build that a recommendation system, making that possible, and thus growing CC Music because in order to get recommended through this system, they have to be able to be played by people, be recommended. So CC Music being a big part of that. So anyway, there's a random all spiel about it. But what I think we can do with CC Music, I think it's very doable. It's going to cost a little bit, but I think it's priceable. Is basically run some version of a bandwagon, basically a band camp for Creative Commons musicians. Be able to run a radio station, AzuraCast, basically for independent music for CC Music. We'll be able to run a video streaming service so DJs could use it. Again, DJs could use the AzuraCast for their radio, but also have kind of a chat room that's all connected to Owncast, the video and the chat room section of it. And then there's also PeerTube. Uh, that one I think we should do, but I think might actually be the hardest to do. Well, the most expensive to do. I'm not exactly sure because of the number of videos that we would be hosting and the bandwidth that's involved in that. I think Owncast is actually a lot easier than that because you're only doing one stream. And I don't know, it doesn't seem, as far as my experience, doesn't seem like it maybe be that much. But so it's kind of bring all those pieces together under, again, a new domain name, which would be ccmusic.club, which I think is pretty good name, a little easier to handle than, so I would think the organization we would still have is Friends of CC Music, but CC Music Club would be kind of the center of the whole puzzle there. Last thing I should add, because this is freaking amazing, is Tom Ray, who you're just mentioning here before. Um, he apparently has built another piece of this beautiful puzzle, or the early version of this puzzle, which is kind of like what I've been trying to say, a decentralized version of Spotify. He has something running that I have not played with because I do not run Linux, but apparently it all runs on Linux. That basically connects to, it's a program that connects to people's Fair Camp websites and basically streams them. So you connect to, you have your one app running and you're connecting and you can play music from a bunch of these different Fair Camp sites. That to me is this, that's the beginning stages of the big beautiful replacement for Spotify. So that everybody, wouldn't just be Fair Camp. Hopefully, it would be it would be Bandwagon, it would be Mirlo, it would be all the different pieces. But to have this free open source software implementation version, basically, that other people could build upon, kind of opening stages of, makes the connection on his GitHub page. He connects and talks about, it's kind of like podcasting. Yeah, I think it's exactly like podcasting because it's the idea that, people are putting out their stuff on their own sites and you have this app that connects to that and plays it for you. And just like with podcasting, it is anybody can run the app. It has, some certain functionalities that it has to be able, a podcatcher. It has certain functionalities that it needs to be able to handle. But it starts to be this idea that, anybody can put up um, a website that works with this, protocol or whatever we want to call it, API, normal concept of how things need to have pieces it needs to have, and anybody can build this version of a, decentralized Spotify. I don't know what we would call it, version of a podcatcher for music, live streaming music concept. Anybody can build all those different pieces. They all compete. They're all working, and that's kind of a beautiful thing. So anyway, he built all that. That's amazing. Just had to give them a shout out and explain what that is. But that's the big concept. Just kind of bringing all these pieces together and making sure that nothing is locked in. That we are everything that we are building. We would want to make sure that we are not, you know, we are not the thing. We are a version of the thing that should exist a million times over in all the different ways. But we want to kind of do a version of it, maybe that creates enough critical mass that says, "Wow, look, there's a way to do this," and then very similar things pop up in lots of different places. But the ideas are coming together, and everybody can, they can make connections between the artists and the developers. So sorry, that's all. Thank you.
Awesome. You were mentioning Rhino Stream. There's also the Net Label Day stream. They used to have chat, uh, but it doesn't look like they have chat anymore. Or maybe it was just comments. I can't. I'm not real sure. I seem to recall there being something over that, over here, but not anymore. Um, the other one that I'm familiar with, although there might be others, is the Bugcast. Now, theirs is not 24/7, but when they go live, they have this player where you can just hit their stream MP3, and they have IRC or well, this is IRC using web chat or using Matrix. So, um, but also they have Telegram. So, um, yeah, I mean, I guess you said that Owncast has the chat built in.
They do. And I think he tries to build in other things too. So, but yeah, that is, as open to different options as can be. I think that is great. Um,
So, yeah, I mean, I guess as far as getting like
Interoperable. Yeah.
things onto this stream, I assume you've reached out to Rhino. I don't know. Maybe it's too
Yeah. I
early
mean,
for
I
that.
talked to him about it. Yeah.
Okay. And then, yeah, Omar, maybe he got his times mixed up. I don't know. He said he was going to be here. What day was that? So on Tuesday, I talked to Omar. So, yeah, I mean, that would be. I think he runs that off of his hardware, but he would just need to point that to the new URL. If I haven't looked into it too much, but if I understand how it all works, that that would be,
Yes.
um, you know, easy enough to do. And then,
Azuracast can run multiple stations too. I don't know that is the, you know, again, so much of this is about, in my view, about kind of getting critical mass, which is really hard because it is asking people in some sense to say, you're doing this thing. We think we think it's awesome. We just kind of want to bring lots of these different, threads together to make a stronger rope. And if that starts to happen, we start to get more and more. I don't know. I think that's how it's starts to be a thing. And if it's all in these different individual pieces, it's harder to make that happen. You know, I don't know.
Yeah. I guess I should go back to the. I can't press the back for some reason. Oops. Oh, it's sharing the wrong. It's because well, it wasn't anything on the AzureCast thing anyway. That I really wanted to show. Um, yeah. If you look up here, so there's one of the things when we were trying to like build some sort of like networks before. One of the problems we had was that the Association of Music Podcasting didn't take in like interview shows. So like Music Management didn't qualify because we didn't just I don't remember what the numbers were, but you had to have like 60 or 70% of the show had to be music, something like that.
Oh, okay.
Um, but the Association of Music Podcast passing died. I don't remember the details of that. It's been a few years now. And some of the folks in the UK started this the other side podcast network. Um, and then so they got CC Hits, which I don't know that they still have anything at all that is produced, but um, yeah, so they're still on there. The page is still up, but the CC Jam and the Bugcast and Tux Jam. I don't actually know what Open Country is, but you can see that they're um, not just music, but they have a music contingent. So there might be some opportunity to you know make some sort of alliance with some group like this. I don't know if any other groups exist. Uh, yeah,
Right.
yeah, I'm not. I mean, I know there's other podcasts out there, but I'm not sure that any of them are,
So
associated with anything.
right. So like I looked at I've been kind of on and off looking at this idea, which is the an online radio app, right?
Yeah,
There are lots of there are a number of online radio apps out there. Um, they're all slightly different, right? A lot of them have like different foci, I don't know. Um, but a lot of, some are, I guess, only available on what's the alternative way to get onto Android? What's the droid thing?
you mean
Anyway,
the store?
side loading, yeah, or whatever it
Oh
is.
well, they're F Droid. I don't.
F Droid.
Yeah, I don't know if that's technically side loading or not, but
Okay.
yeah.
But some of the apps are only available via F Droid. Um, and some of the apps, there's one Radio Garden or something. So you basically pick a location and then it's like randomized through the different, stuff that's there. I and then there's an app and then there's apps that are like connected specifically to a station, right? There's all these different there's all these different radio streams out there, and there was just I shared it. There was just a PBS, I think it was PBS, no, NPR article about all the different streams that are out there because they were again notifying that Spotify, some people are not liking Spotify anymore. So there's like a site you can go for college radio. There's all these different streams that exist, but there's nothing that like brings it together. I guess I think of like if podcasting was that way, right? Which is that you could get a podcatcher, but it would be very limited, right? Like you would get a podcatcher that was like linked to this one podcast, or you would get a podcatcher that you would go in like. you'd have to do it through this other way, and it's like that's not how that took off, right?
Yeah.
Like it took off because it was a completely open system that anybody could add to it, and then over time you had the podcatchers actually like recommend stuff, and you could search within the podcatcher, and like everything was available, and the whole point of it was everything was available, nothing was closed off. And and they got it so that the ads weren't really annoying, which is where a lot of things are right now. And it's just a bad environment where online radio is. And it existed, as far as I know, right before podcatching, podcasts existed. I think there was online radio back then. But I just I don't, maybe I'm just crazy, but I don't feel like it's ever developed in that kind of way. There's no like great apps. There's no like completely open system. There's no, so it's just those kinds of things are frustrating. Um, and that's what I feel like. I guess I just look at the podcast world, and I'm just like, that's a thing. And I feel like we should be able to do that for radio, and we should be able to, and that came together. There were some, we ended up with, lots of different personalities who everybody does a fucking podcast now, right? But there's also like the technology to do podcasts, and those two worlds came together, and somehow amidst all these different attempts it remained independent. You had Spotify trying to buy it, you had all these different companies kind of trying to control it, but it remained completely open. But it's still open, but also in a way that was like became more and more usable for people. And I don't feel like we have that with radio,
Yeah.
and we could.
I mean, it's interesting because we kind of have like a chicken and an egg problem. Like there's no listeners on the Net Label Day radio right now.
Hmm.
But is that just because people can't find it and they don't have the right tool, or is it because people don't want radio? I mean,
Well,
uh,
that's kind of the tough thing, which is that,
yeah,
like, when you look at online radio, there's tons of fucking online radios out there.
yeah,
Okay, like it's all over the place. Like when you really look at it, it's just so what do you call it? Separated.
right,
It's so like in these little boxes, and some of it's the companies are kind of in between it, right? So some radio stations, like there's college radio generally that it's just open stream and it's fine. But some of the other ones are like lockdown, right? So it's behind a paywall basically to listen to some things. um and it's just a it's so I yeah, I guess I don't think radio I don't think radio is broken. I don't think there's not a lack of online radio, and there's not a lack of interest in the online radio. It's just a weird, I don't know. It's not it hasn't come together. I think there's a lot of people who listen to it, but they don't even know that other people are listening. I don't know. Or they're just happy with just, I listen to these three stations, or
yeah.
I I don't know.
Um, well, I guess So, what do you need from folks?
I don't know. I I need to be able to know that I can reach out to people for. I guess what I was thinking is we did have um we did have that matrix room thing.
Yeah,
I feel like if I had something like that where people, my experience with matrix has been interesting because it's, to me it feels like a space where you can have people, if people are using the app and people have entered the room, then you can kind of reach out to them. You can just kind of tag them, and maybe you'll get some kind of quick response. Versus I feel like that's not the way you experience something on, let's say, the Fediverse or something. It's there's I don't know. So I guess that's kind of my thing, is like I wish there was a sense of like, who are all the people that kind of care about this, so when something we could try to do, and I need some help with it or something, I could reach out to them. Like, do you have any experience with doing this? Maybe you could tell me how to do that, or do you have thoughts on how you would want to do this? Or so like very basic ideas. I think so. So I did reach out to Ben. With he's the guy who does Bandwagon,
Yeah.
and I had asked him Friday or something about, I think we do want to move forward with having a bandwagons for CC Music, and my we had talked about that before. I had looked at it, and my experience was that there's no great, you know, the downloading of music wasn't where I wanted it to be, and so I was like, I asked him about it, and I don't think anything has been developed on that front. Whatever, I think we could still go ahead and do it. So I said, okay, could we go ahead and do it? He responded really quickly and said, yeah, hey, I'll talk to you tomorrow about it. Just haven't heard from him. I think I can talk to him in another, in a week or so, and we could probably get something like that up. I guess I think I have to think, start to play with it and see how it lays out. But I would guess, like, you're looking at it right now, right?
Yeah. Let's
So
see.
you're looking at I think you're looking at a version of Bandwagon, right? Are you at
I'm just,
bandwagon.fm?
yeah. I was thinking
Okay,
I might just head over to the GitHub and see if there's a downloads
there you go. Yeah.
action, but um,
So so I guess what I was thinking at this point is ccmusic.club would drop people directly at our Bandwagon instance. They would get to that page that you were just on, and we could modify that page to say all the things that we want to say, right? We could have on there, we could have that link to the other pieces that I was talking about. So we could have that link to the video stream, the audio stream, the peer, the all the different things right there. Um, that's kind. So I was thinking what would be the homepage, and so the homepage being where ccmusic.club would go to. Then I was wondering, well, do we have subdomains for those other pieces? What subdomains do we want to use for that? I don't know. Um, and kind of go from there. So yeah. So what what I've been doing, well, it worked super easy for me yesterday. I mean, I still have some things to work out, which was that I was able to get an Owncast running, and so I put the link in the chat there. But I was trying to play around with the URLs for that anyway. But anyway, I put that on DigitalOcean. So I use DigitalOcean, and they have an install right there for that. So I used that to get it going. So that was super simple, um, at least to get it up. And then I started using OBS, and I was able to stream to that. And then I was able to go into my Roku app, my Owncast Roku app, and I was able to add that URL right there, just the IP address :8080, and I was able to be watching that stream, coming from my basement, being broadcast by OBS from my basement to a DigitalOcean, droplet or whatever they call it, um, and then pulling it into the Roku to put onto my television. No evil man in the between all of that, and it was pretty cool. So, don't know on all this stuff. I would say we have to play around with it before we really start to bring in people to it, just to see, what it can handle stream wise and different things like that. But um, so
so
like, yeah.
I wonder if one of the things that Bandwagon needs is just like better documentation because like that issue that you posted back in September, I mean, he says the download should be working. So, but I don't, I mean,
So the downloads work,
okay,
kind of.
okay.
So go to uh, go to go to open up another tab and go to Mirlo or go to Bandcamp.
Well, I'm just sharing the tab, so I can't really.
Oh, okay.
Can't really go to another tab very easily, but I can do this.
So if you find an art, how do you get to the artist? So you could search for, okay, click on an artist. I think any of them will come up that way. So if you can click on the album, is there?
There's a buy link.
Yeah.
This one.
Oh, so here you go, right on the top there, to the right. Includes downloads in FLAC, WAVE, MP3, and more. Paying supporters also get unlimited streaming on the Mirlo website. And then if you do go through the buy experience, I think that's not really, it's kind of hard to explain it, but that's not there on Bandwagon. Again, if you and then so if you open up Bandcamp, basically you get a very similar experience with, in my view, Bandcamp, Mirlo. I think there's another one
Okay.
that's different on Bandwagon. And so,
So we've got the play
right.
there, but
So
and then
try
we
to
the
try to
license is
buy.
nice. Is no, I mean maybe there wasn't a license on the other one because it wasn't CC, but I'm like
Yeah, I
that's
think it would.
prominent.
Right.
But
I agree.
um,
I agree. Oh, right.
okay, have an account FRS. Okay. Um, so there's not a buy link.
But they might not be
Yeah, it might
even selling it. So,
be because I'm not logged in too. So well, let's try another one.
yeah, I think that might be it.
Play. So here again we have the license. This one happens to be copyright, but it's very prominent, which is nice.
Is it possible that there's some artists that have music on both sites? So I'm trying to think of, I was able to do that with somebody.
I don't know if I have. I might have it saved in Firefox since Firefox is my primary browser. But in the past, we had some problems with Jitsi and Firefox.
Yeah, I use Vivaldi and I have to go to Chrome I, to run Jitsi. Well, it's safer that way anyway. It's more
Well, it
reliable.
so let's see here. I can change to sharing the screen instead of sharing the entire screen. We'll go
But
have
but
Inception here for just a second, but
right.
all right.
But I mean that was a stopper for me before. I think that was dumb because
That.
I think that as
Oh, this
we,
is maybe
you
to
know,
sign up to.
if we get our own instance of it running, um, I think, he'll have a lot more incentive to be, for us to be able to talk about changes or additions and all that kind of stuff. So just
All
what the
right.
actual experience is.
All right. So now there's a buy now button, which there was not before.
Okay.
So right. So that takes you to this page. So I wonder if there's anywhere. Okay, so maybe there was on that one, but not on this one because there's no buy. So you
Right.
can't buy this person's
Right.
stuff.
But if you go through the
What
buy
if you
experience,
like it? What happens
it
then?
doesn't.
Hmm.
I believe I bought stuff both on Mirlo and on Bandwagon, and that's what I'm recalling is the actual buy experience.
Oh yeah, I remember. There's like you can go in. I remember because we talked about this on one of the calls. Like there's a place to like go and see your purchases or something, and
Yeah.
then um.
I mean,
So I think that like maybe that yeah that bug report. is a little lacking in detail.
But
Um,
again, this is kind of tough because like I can say I've bought a ton of stuff off of Bandcamp, and I can say, hey, this is kind of what I expect and what I want. I mean, this is where I came from. I buy a ton of stuff off there. This is kind of what I expect, what I want. When I went to Mirlo, that was the same experience that I was having. Hey, I'm on bandwagon. I'm not having that experience. Does that matter? I don't know. I know it matters for me. I know it's what I expect, what I want to see, but I don't know that the average person, who buys music through these kind of services wants that or cares about that. Um, when I look at and say, hey, I want to be running this instance, I want to be able to say to musicians, hey, come over here and run this. To me, I want to say, hey, look, there's this kind of experience that you're going to get there because that's what I kind of expect. But maybe they don't care,
yeah,
but to me, I have a hard time saying to them, come and do this when I feel like I don't know that I think you're going to want this. I don't know. It's hard.
yeah,
So you kind of just have to play with it, I think, before we really know you were just on Bandcamp, right? Yeah.
yeah. So I was just noticing that like here it's listed under attribution, but on Bandcamp it's listed as all rights reserved. So, um,
Yeah.
got
I don't
got
know.
some mixed. But
Well, there you go. Again, it says where you were just pointing to it includes high quality download MP3, FLAC, and more. So that's like the exact same language that's over on Mirlo,
yeah.
right? Like, I would think an artist would want that. I think that's what I think that's what somebody who's going to buy their music wants to see before they click buy.
So I shared it and I liked it. So I'm wondering where that went.
Hmm.
Um,
I'm trying to, I think, oh, Faircamp. I think even Faircamp had a very similar, and Faircamp doesn't even do the buying themselves. I think they give you some kind of link that like does the buying some other way or something. Or if you confirm you bought it, you they allow you to click on something that lets you download it. I can't Faircamp does it a little different. Um yeah,
so
see if
that's
you can.
just
Well, the problem with, Faircamp doesn't have a site. It's all the sites are completely independent. So, which is awesome, but they do have like a web ring that you could get onto.
can't zero. Okay, let's see. It's like, yeah, so here we have like a tutorial. I didn't see anything like that over on the bandwagon site. Um,
Right. So again, like as we start to have experience with it, I mean, maybe he'd let us write some of this stuff, help him with it. Hear from musicians and see what.
um, it's
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
maybe
Yeah, you're
maybe
trying to
there's
find.
some lists on here maybe. Um, maybe Hyper 8 is that like maybe his band's no, that's just a static site generator.
Yeah, that's a different.
I was thinking they might have like
Oh
a
wait, go down. Does he have Lorenzo's music? Does he have on a fair camp? Maybe keep going to the bottom.
might
Mm, no.
pixel fed Bandcamp RSS email. He might, but just doesn't have it on here. Perhaps. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, couldn't tell you. Let's see what kind of tags for Fair Camp show up. Nothing shows up. So
Oh, Well, click on music at the top. Yeah, Bandcamp and Spotify. Okay. Yeah.
But I feel like I've seen them elsewhere. Yeah, so I mean, he's on bandwagon, even though they're not linking there. You know, it's like if you link to every place under the sun, then it's kind of
Right.
like it becomes a mess. So,
I agree.
um, yeah, I don't know. I don't know where these likes go to, but whatever. Uh, they're not tied to my Mastodon account. I checked.
Oh, okay.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I probably just made a separate account.
Maybe
So,
the artist just gets notified that someone likes their music. I don't know.
well, it's supposed to be tied to the Fediverse, and
Yeah.
yeah, I was,
Yeah.
but yeah, so, uh, well, I mean, I guess there's also the like, I mean, Ben's been, he's showed up to a couple of meetings, so, um, I can see some reason to maybe go that direction, but Um, also if we think that like something like Mirlo is going to be easier for folks to like understand what's going on, I mean, we could always just do that instead.
So does Mirlo? I don't know of Mirlo doing their own of letting you do an installation. Do they?
Um, yeah, I guess I don't really know.
That was the I think I'd seen something about them talking about that, but you know, so like if they do that, maybe we talk to them about that. Obviously Fair Camp is totally each site is
Oh
separate
yeah,
as
that's
far as I
right.
know.
Mirlo's whole thing is like collective economy.
Right.
Oh, here's a GitHub. I mean, that doesn't mean that like it's designed to be easy to do. um,
Right.
but yeah, it's there.
Right. I mean, Fair Camp is yeah. I guess I get the sense that Fair Camp is very much a very basic, you know, way to run a site, but the site's going to be very basic. Mirlo is all you're going to run it on Mirlo, and Bandwagon is somewhere in between. um,
Yeah,
Bandwagon is either way. So, um, I mean, I guess that's and to me, Bandwagon makes sense of what the way I think of stuff because I think of on Bandcamp people they have a site, an artist has a Bandcamp account, but you also have labels that have Bandcamp accounts.
right.
Um, so to me, you break that out and you have, you know, separate sites that could be labels or the artists themselves. And hopefully you can tie it all together so that decentralized Spotify can work. But I don't
Yeah.
know.
Um. So I can't remember when this first came up. At some point in the past, we talked about doing some sort of uh just having our own net label. Maybe it was when Sam and I started talking about doing the net label review. Um, you know, because that is, the whole idea is that it's specific to net labels.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my idea with um, kind of having like a place for folks that are new to the scene to sort of like soft land that isn't just like, oh hey, go like figure out, Bandcamp. Is basically like outsourcing some of that work to the other net labels. So if we had some way of like, um, you know, like, it's basically like it's not exactly like a draft because, like different net labels would need different, like you might not have like a whole pool of musicians in there,
Mm-hmm.
but the idea is kind of like, um, you know, like let's just use, since we are talking about Lorenzo's music. Let's say Lorenzo's music is like, you know, like Tom and I just met and we've got our our thing, and I'm like, hey Tom, why don't you just like we've got this nifty little thing where net labels come and like check out your music, and they all know to like come here and look for stuff, and then let's get your latest single or album up on there, and then one of those net labels will reach out and they'll kind of like help you understand a little bit more about how things work. And then like we get their latest release and we put it on there, and then like say Mike reaches out and says, "Hey, yeah, this is awesome. Like, I'd really like to release your next stuff." And then um, that way, it like because like I think the reality is we're just not gonna get that many people like interested in like the nuts and bolts of like bringing people together. But if we're telling net labels, hey, we've got a place where you can check out, artists that, you might find interesting, that might be actually something that they do. Um, so
So when we say check them out, so we're saying what are we doing for that? So we're gonna get their stuff up onto our bandwagon or something, or
Well,
no?
so I don't know what we would end up. This is one of the things that I wanted to talk about Mike about with branding, because there's a couple of different ways we could do it. I mean, we could have just like a bespoke web portion that's like this is the net label, and it could just be like the same site code as the Block Sonic stuff. I mean, for example, and like re we retheme it or something. I mean, it could be something like that. Um, I think if we like it muddies the waters a little bit if like we've got musicians that are putting a bunch of different, like, they're like, oh yeah, I love this bandwagon thing, I'm just gonna release all my stuff there. Like if you're
Mm-hmm.
putting those musicians along with the new folks that we've been like, hey, this is a new person, like we need people to like help them and like get them like integrated in the community and stuff. I think that's going to be confusing for folks, but probably both sides of that. Like, um, so I mean, it's the same thing where it's like if the net labels don't come, uh, then it kind of doesn't matter. But I've got some folks in mind, like Nicholas Burgess, that I don't think has ever
Mm-hmm.
been on a net label. So if we can kind of pre-populate that with people that we know that are like they're already in like the CC music community, but they're not in the net label community. So if we can
Mm-hmm.
like bring like I don't know how many, but a few other people into that community and start like nudging net labels to like go and like talk to them, we might be able to build, um, build some infrastructure. So like we're like, I guess like I'm kind of thinking about it like almost like a matchmaking service, but like,
Hmm.
I mean, maybe that's actually the side that we lean into even more. Now that I'm saying that out loud, I mean, because I was sort of like thinking like like the how to be a net label game is like well understood, like I mean like doing it and making money and all that kind of stuff is like complicated and whatever, but like but just like doing it is pretty simple. You like have a website and you put releases on it. Like it's not complicated. Um so that was kind of where I was thinking. And then like if you do have a release, then like okay, they've got a net label release. Like you've like checked that box. But maybe like having a place where musicians say what they're looking for in a label and labels say like what they provide. Maybe that's actually more interesting. I don't know. I'll have to think about that a little bit more. Um,
Yeah, I just don't understand what a net label does specifically. Um, you know, um,
well, so I mean, it depends on the net label, but basically they
like
are.
what is Burgess missing?
Well,
Oh,
he's not in the net label scene. So if you
right.
wanted to do something about net labels, he's excluded from that.
Okay.
So
Sam,
just
did you?
yeah, just talk, dude. Just like
Yeah.
Um, so for me, a net label um, specifically releases music for free. Um, so that might contradict with what we're trying to do here. You mentioned like making money and like helping artists like sell their music. Um,
well,
I don't want to make money out of this. I mean, I want them to make money.
so I mean, like if you look at,
I
for
don't want to go into
example,
debt because of it.
so if you look at specifically something like quote unquote, I don't have to reshare. Um, wait, that's the wrong one. Here we go. So like if you look at quote unquote records, like this is
Right.
this is all like free downloads, but like Jeff is on like Side One Dummy, which is like a huge punk label. Like
Hmm.
it's a very commercial punk label that has been around for 30 years. And his deal with them means that he can release stuff here. But like there's nothing about being on a net label that means that like you can't sell your stuff. Um and, and specifically in like, Jeff's um situation. Is it just really, 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 really records, or is it really records? He used
that's
to
a
have.
name.
I don't know if he still has it, to be honest, but he used to have really records, um, where he actually like, um, released. I wonder if he'd be like on. Maybe on the info page. Let's see about us, contact, blah blah blah. Lots of words, so many words.
So like I look at that page, right? And I downloaded everything off of that page before. Um
And he's just moved
that
to Shopify. It looks like. Oh no, here we go. So
that
like,
to me could be a bandwagon site, right?
yeah,
Like
but there's all sorts of like. I mean, Black Sonic doesn't do a lot of it, but like, we do have some releases. But like, Hypnotic Dirge, like, everything here is CC. But like, a lot of these musicians, um, they've got. they've got vinyl that you can purchase too. So,
Hmm.
um,
They do have a free download option, which is nice, which you can buy with $0.
yeah, so they basically have like the band merch and like I mean I guess the vinyl is merch at some level, but so some net labels do this kind of stuff, some don't. I mean, I can't remember, but I know there's one. It's like a Czech um label that they have like a physical record shop that I don't know if they ship stuff, but you can like go and visit their store. Like I think
Right.
it's in Prague, um but yeah, so I mean, I just think like one of the things that's sometimes confusing to folks is, you know, like what do people mean when I talk about net labels and stuff? And I think if we can just kind of like, like basically make those Venn diagrams overlap completely. Just find the people that are not on net labels and put them out on a net label. Then like we've solved that confusion.
But if we're putting them on that label and we're not giving them anything more than they would get from having it on a site like Bandwagon,
Well,
Bandcamp, even,
that's why I'm
then
saying like there's some people like Nick that like they
right,
don't they don't care. Like
right,
they
right,
already know what we're trying to do. But there are going to be some other folks where like some of these labels are going to be able to provide
right,
something to them. Like one of the things with Black Sonic is that a lot of those dudes that release on Black Sonic, they end up working together. Like it's almost like a collective more than a label. Now, not exactly, because we definitely we get folks that like don't participate as much, but like like Time Zone and Donnie and the Cheese and Pot C and like in like CM, like those dudes that have been releasing on Black Sonic for 15 years and stuff, like
mhm,
they're on each other's albums like all the time. They're collaborating all the time, and so you're potentially joining like a group of like-minded musicians,
right.
and I think
Okay.
there's value in that. So
Yes.
it's just going to depend on what the
Right.
label is, and that's why I'm saying like I think at some level, I was thinking about it initially like very simplistically, like here's a release, like we did this, like we kind of go through the process once, say you get the files to the net label. In this case, we are the stand-in for the net label, and then like the reason for calling it one and done is just like the idea is that like we will go with you through this process one time. Like we're not trying to be like a net label where you have like a relationship. Like a normal net label, you have like a relationship that's potentially like years long with that label. Like I said, like
Right.
people have been releasing on Black Sonic, some of them for getting close to 20 years. So we're not trying to do that, and we're trying to be very upfront. We want to go through the logistics of releasing through somebody else with you once, and then if that experience is like good for you, then like you might be interested in like other net labels, and like
Okay.
that's kind of my
I like
idea.
that.
But so
Um,
let me walk through the what that would mean,
yeah,
because what what I what I'm envisioning is you've got people that are on Bandcamp, and I want them to be on Bandwagon because to me, I think Bandcamp, is not, we don't know where Bandcamp's going to
sure.
go, but also because I want to help Bandwagon take off, and help I want to not only help Bandwagon take off, but I want to kind of build this scene around the software and the music, and kind of get some, workable synergies going on between there. I don't, if I can put my time towards that and making that all like be awesome and better and awesome, I think that will be a huge win, and I that would be great if I can, find the time and the money to do all that. Going to the next to a different thing or another thing above that, which was what I'm hearing from you,
Well, I
which
think I think they're
seems to
two
mean
they're two different
taking that and
paths.
saying and helping them to connect, to labels that make sense after they put out something else, or that's what I'm not, that's the thing that I don't know that I, you could do that. I'm just not sure that's part of what I'm buying into, right?
Some musicians are going to be looking to stay independent. Some musicians are going to
Mm-hmm.
be looking to sort of
Right.
like do both. I mean, like, Lorenzo's music, like most of their stuff is just self-released, but every once in a while they put something out on Black Sonic. Like it's not an either or thing
Right.
necessarily.
Okay. I mean, I guess based on what I've been talking about, how does what you're saying connect to or build upon what is, there's another site that
Well,
they're on, and some things are not on ours because they're on the other one? That seems what you were saying, because you didn't want, you thought some people didn't want to be on this, like newbies versus old heads.
Well, I think so. People can do, I mean, like maybe everything could be on bandwagon, but I think if we're going to highlight, new entries into the community, then you need to have a separate space where you're highlighting them.
I don't want to highlight. I mean, I I want to make it possible that Rhino and a billion other rhinos highlight. Like like when Rhino tells me there's this band called Seymour Glass, and I have no idea that they exist, and then I download their track and I play it while I'm running the Thanksgiving run, that's fucking win to me, and I paid the money. And like when I was running a podcast, I would, would link to them and I would play it on my show and I would tell my friends that the music existed. If they don't have to, like, they're very hate the machine kind of thing. If they don't have to be on Bandcamp and they can be on Bandwagon, like I think that's a win for everybody involved. There may be more than that that's possible, but I to me running the site, I don't want to choose to highlight Seymour Glass versus some other band that
I
is
think you
probably just as
I think
awesome, but
you're
I
you're misunderstanding what highlighting
okay,
means. We're
okay,
just talking about new people. We're not talking about saying they're good. We're not talking about like we're just saying these are people that are new.
okay.
That's it. Pretty simple. Like if you've got Lorenzo's music with like, 20 different releases, the new folks are
Right.
going to get lost. Uh,
If you want to have a front page where there's like the 10 most recent music on there, yeah, okay. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I mean, maybe this is just something Mike and I need to do. I mean, separate from what you're trying to do. So
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I
it just comes down to whether or not you're trying to be like, you know, pro net label or not. And that's really what it comes down to. So, um, you know, so
I I'm pro CC Music. I don't know that I'm pro net label.
yeah, I've gathered that.
Okay.
So, um,
Like
so
if
yeah,
Carsey wants to stay
yeah,
independent, I I still want her on Bandwagon. So I
yeah. I think that I mean we're gonna remain with the confusion of net label day. But
yeah.
you know, whatever. That's really Omar's problem and not my problem. So.
Okay.
So, William, do you ever get feedback from your listeners about the songs that you play during your podcast?
So I've had to quit my podcast.
Uh,
Um I don't. I haven't. Um
okay.
but I had to quit it. I had some politics, fucking assholes and shit. So yeah, it sucked. Um
Are you going to start a new one, or are you just going to step away from podcasts?
I kind of want to start a new one, but it's gonna be it's gonna be a little. It might I actually would make sense to play music on it, but um, it's gonna be less politics maybe and more democracy of reach kind of stuff. So,
Okay.
but yeah,
Sweet. Yeah. So I'm not sure. Obviously, like I can reach out to Dave and Caroline and see, um, if they're interested in being involved. Um, yeah. I mean, I think it's just we gotta get the folks.
when would so you'd want to do a monthly show? Is that what you're doing, Doug? Doug and both of you guys, Sam?
Oh, we've got a quarterly net label review going
Okay.
on. Yeah. So I've got to. I
Would
don't
that
know if
live stream or no?
we could theoretically live stream it. I don't know if that ever made it over to PeerTube. I might have to download it and then I guess I could share again. Find out live. No, so I'll have to download that. I'll edit it before I download it. Take out our sound check at the beginning. So, um, but yeah, no, first episode went pretty well, I think. Yeah, so we don't have to like like we were a little freer this first one. Because like we have all of like history. Most of the stuff we talked about was newish, but yeah, the idea is that we're that it'll be like the new stuff that has happened um over the past 3 months, and that should give us enough like quality stuff to highlight. There was some concern about maybe a month not being enough time to like
Got it.
find stuff that's like I mean, you could find stuff. I mean, people do
Right.
weekly shows, but like to just really like have something that's really highlighting the best of the best, I thought quarterly was a better option.
Right. I mean, Rhino does weekly, but
Right. Yeah.
you know, one song might be new versus.
Right. Yeah.
So the
Exactly.
first episode would probably be in like late March or I don't know.
Well, that'll be the second episode.
Second episode, right?
The first of the 3 month. Uh, I'll drop the link in the chat here. I never got a chance to edit it. Uh, all right. So on Monday, but yeah, after I edit it, then I'll put it up on the Dalek.zone, and folks can grab it from RSS. And I need to figure out if I just want to use Podbean. I feel like Podbean is kind of annoyingly complicated, but it might be the best option. So,
What's the other one?
oh,
Um,
the other like
there's the very
podcast.
Fetty one.
Oh, there's a Fetty podcast thing.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I'm not familiar with that. I'll take a look later.
Yeah.
Yeah, sweet. So, yeah, I'll make sure that the recording gets out to Omar, so he
Okay.
knows that we're hoping to get that live stream on here.
Cool.
Yeah. Now you're making me think we should have an instance of that Fetty podcast thing too. Damn it. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, yeah, it's like it's like wanting to have these things up and then being concerned that they're not going to take off and then saying, "Oh, that's money that we're
Yeah,
spending on
I
this
mean,
and doesn't
yeah,
make sense to have it."
I think we should start, you know, start small,
Yeah.
and get people used to going to the site and
Yeah,
see what.
that's kind of the nice thing about, the people that already exist, having them move over because you're already
Yeah,
we're already paying for it. Like if we can help you pay for it,
right.
and then we're not really, you know, everything's still the same. It's just perhaps a wider audience, perhaps,
Yeah, I mean, there'll be some crossover for sure. That folks that, Rhinos
right,
folks that don't know that the net label stream exists, and the net label folks that don't know Rhinos stream exists. Like
right.
so.
I mean, yeah, I was getting the Owncast thing up and I was throwing it into his chat, and people didn't know it existed. So it's an
Yep.
opportunity to spread the word about new technology that people are really like doing some fucking amazing work. It's both sides are doing amazing work, and you know, I don't know. I want them to know about each other and cross pollinate. So that's it.
Sweet. All right. Well, thanks, guys. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm bummed. Jessica and Omar didn't show, but yeah, maybe they'll be able to watch it and provide some input. So,
Okay.
all right. Well, I'm gonna